What is up, guys? It's your friendly neighborhood web war fanatic, and this is a subscriber request video from Jonathan Rector and Ores Gamba. You guys asked me to make a deck from scratch and just to show my deck building process. So I thought who better to build a deck on than a new hero, Iceman. So let's go ahead and find him here, and this is just going to be basically showing how I make a deck. So I've always wanted to make a deck building video, but I think that in Marvel Champions it's super duper complex, and there's not any set rules because every hero is so unique and different that I can't find any specific line of rules I can apply for every single deck, every single aspect, and every single hero. So I think a really good way is just to make a deck with a specific hero in mind and show how I go through that. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get started here. So we're gonna start off with Iceman here. So we're gonna click on Create Iceman Deck through Marvel CDB. Whenever I first started playing Marvel Champions, I like to have all the cards I laid out in front of me. But now that I've been playing more and more, my collection is pretty big, and I have like different sleeves for like different cards like all over the place, and they're kind of a mess. So I prefer to pretty much just do everything through Marvel CDB right now. And okay, so for Iceman here, the first thing whenever I'm looking at a hero is I want to look at the cards in their kit. So I'm gonna pull up Hall of Heroes right here, and we're gonna take a look at some of Iceman's cards. So for Iceman, his alter ego is Bobby Drake here. He has 4 recovery, and then he begins the game with 6 frostbite upgrades set aside, which is this card right here, where you can attach an enemy, and then the enemy has a -1 scheme and -1 attack. His alter ego response is called Cool Off. After you change this form, shuffle 1 ice card from discard pile into your deck for each copy of Frostbite in play. So I've already taken a look at Iceman's kit here, and pretty much the only alter ego card that he has is Cool Off right here. So it is a strong response. Right? When you change to your alter ego from your hero side, when you flip over, you can shuffle 1 ice card from your discard pile into your deck for each copy of these Frostbites in play. So hopefully you have at least 1 copy, so you can always get at least 1 ice card. And then almost all of Iceman's cards are ice cards, right? So Frostbite, well, this won't be in your deck. This is set aside with his setup ability right here. But Frozen Solid is an ice card. Ice Blast, ice. Arctic Attack, ice, right? Ice Wall, ice. Almost all of his cards, except for the Power Belt here and the Cryo Connect Perception, everything else has the ice trait, right? Like his Snow Clones have the ice trait, and then Ice Slide also has the ice trait. So that's a very strong ability for Iceman because it's essentially getting almost any identity-specific card from your discard pile back into your deck. It would be nice if it goes to your hand, but it's still powerful to be able to line up the cards that you need in your deck, right? Like if you're ready for damage, you can get your Arctic attacks into your deck. If you need a Historian card, which is also the ice trait, you can get that into your deck. So I think it's a strong ability to kind of build on. So I do kind of want to think about building with that in mind to help get Iceman set up for like a final big push. And his hero ability here is Freeze. Interrupt when Iceman makes a basic attack or defense against an enemy. Attach a set aside copy of Frostbite to an enemy. So it's going to be these Frostbites right here. So if you guys have seen my other videos kind of analyzing Iceman, I've talked about how I feel like the biggest thing that he needs is a lot of readies. He wants to make not just attacks or like defense, right? So if you have the attack keyword or defense keyword, that's whatever. But Iceman wants to make basic attacks and basic defense. So you have to exhaust to get that basic attack or exhaust to get that basic defense. And then he wants to be ready up a lot. So whenever I'm building for Iceman, I want to keep that in mind, where I want to find a way to be able to ready up a lot. I think the main thing with that's going to be with Utopia, which I'm going to show you guys in a second. But yeah, and then he also has Frozen Solid here, which is hero form only. You can attach to an enemy. Force Interrupt when attached enemy would activate. Discard Frozen Solid instead. Then attach a set aside copy of Frostbite to that enemy. So I think that this is a great way for him to mitigate threat, right? It's a pseudo confuse, and it works on stalwart because next time the enemy will activate, they just can't activate, right? So if you flip down after playing the Frozen Solid, then you can prevent a scheme activation, and Frostbites give the attached enemy -1 scheme -1 attack. So that -1 scheme -1 attack can make an activation, particularly a scheme activation, like much less. So one thing that I talked about in Iceman's Hero review for me is that I'm really impressed by how much he can control threat going on in main scheme and really mitigate that. So that's also something that I want to keep in mind when I'm deck building for him. Okay, so let's take a look back at Marvel CDB. So I've been thinking about 3 aspects for him, and I think that his biggest lacking quality is going to be his damage. Right, his only sources of damage are the Arctic Attack here and the Ice Blast. He only has 2 copies, I believe, of the Arctic Attack. So Arctic Attack is here, Action Attack. Choose to either do 4 damage to an enemy and attach a set aside copy of Frostbite to it, or do 6 damage to an enemy and, with Frostbite attached. So at most it's going to be 2 for 6, and you can play it 2 times, right? No, actually, let's just double check the Ice Blast here, or the Arctic attack. Yeah, so he has 2 copies of it right here in his deck. And then he has 2 copies of the Ice Blast, and the Chill Out is going to be his Historian card. Yeah, so his damage is not that good because Ice Blast is 3 for 3, and then Arctic Attack is 2 for max 6, right? So the Ice Blast is good for AoE, right, because it hits all the enemies, but if you want concentrated damage, it's only going to be at most 3 damage on the villain for a 3 cost, which is pretty high. So I was thinking about playing him in Aggression to kind of mitigate that, but I think that for Iceman, if you play him in Aggression, I feel like that his thwarting is a little bit too low, right? His only thwarting card is going to be Chill Out here, which is a 2-cost thwart event, and then you can remove 3 threat from a scheme and then set aside copy of Frostbite to an enemy. So he has great ways to mitigate threat, right? By attaching the Frostbite to an enemy, it's really strong for preventing the enemy from scheming for high numbers because each copy of Frostbite gives them -1 scheme. But I think that Iceman can't do too much if there's already a bunch of threat on the main scheme or on side schemes. I feel like he's going to have trouble with that. So his strength is mitigating threat, not necessarily clearing off threat. So Justice could be also a good aspect for him to play him in, just to help him given those big thwart numbers. But the problem with Justice is I think that a lot of the Justice events, like thwart events, aren't as efficient as identity-specific events. So it's hard for me to justify putting in a lot of Justice thwarting events because I prefer to have, well, I just compare them to identity-specific events, which are always, much better and removes more threat for a cheaper cost. So I don't like playing him Justice for that reason, or I don't want to put him in Justice. And then for Aggression, I feel like he doesn't have enough threat removal if I build onto his damage. And then another aspect I was thinking him and playing him in is going to be in Protection. I think Protection could work very, very well, right? Because what's the card I'm thinking of? Repurpose. I think it's a really, really strong card, right? So the 0-cost event. Hero action this card, tech upgrade control. Ready your hero and choose thwart, attack, or defense until end of the round. Your hero gets +X to adjust in power. So this is something that I also thought about a lot with Iceman because you can get those readies. But the thing with this is that these readies are really going to be for your big final turn, like push to defeat the villain, because you get X equal to the upgrades printed cost. So you're getting a lot of bonuses for discarding a tech upgrade. So that may not be the best because I think Iceman wants those readies throughout the middle of the game, throughout the course of the entire game, not just at the very end, because you want to put on the Frostbites with his basic attack or defense with the freeze here, right? But that's going to be in the middle of the game. If you're ready to gun the villain down, you don't necessarily need the readies. So the other card would be What Doesn't Kill Me. I think Protection has some of the best sources of readying. So What Doesn't Kill Me here is one of my favorite Protection cards. Heal 2 damage from your hero and then ready up your hero. So also a very good card to help ready up Iceman, but you do have to heal 2 damage from him. And I think he can take a lot of damage, right, because he has 11 hit points. And then he can defend a lot, have the enemy have -1 attack and stuff like that. Yeah, I think Protection is also a good way to go. But I've already decided that I really want to try him out in pool, and we're going to see how the pool deck works with this. Let me see. So let me move this a little bit. So let me click on pool. Okay, so for pool, I think the big card that I'm looking for, there's 2 main cards that I really like with the Iceman, and the first one is the readying card. Stick to itiveness. Where is it? Let's see, right here. Okay, so I think this is going to be a very key card for Iceman. So this is a 2-cost upgrade. As a hero action, you can spend a physical resource and exhaust this card to ready up your hero. So this is it's an upgrade, so it can stay on the field. And whenever Iceman uses a basic activation, like his attack or basic defense, you can still get that ready back up by using Stick to Itiveness, and you can kind of compound and put multiple copies of Frostbite on an enemy every single turn by getting those multiple activations from Iceman. So I think this is a very key card for Iceman. So I'm going to go ahead and just play the pull aspect for him and put this card in there. So that's going to be the first card that we're going to add to his deck. And I want to put the essential cards first whenever I'm deck building. So I think that this is kind of a key card for me. And then another key card in the pool aspect, and the big reason why I want to try him out in the pool aspect, is going to be not my responsibility right here. So I talked a lot about Iceman's threat mitigation. So that's going to be with the Frostbites, right? Whenever you get the enemy minus scheme, it's really good to prevent threat from going on the main scheme whenever they're scheming. And Frozen Solid can also prevent a Thor activation, which is really good as well. If we look at Not My Responsibility, this is a zero cost event, one of my favorite pool events. And as an interrupt, when any amount of threat will be placed on a scheme, you or your ally takes it as damage instead. So this is a great card that when you're in your alter ego and you're flipped down, you can play this interrupt whenever the villain schemes and take all that threat as damage on your identity or on the ally and just kill off an ally by putting that damage on them. So this adds a lot more to Iceman's ability to flip down, and it helps him a lot. It helps him mitigate threat a lot more, even if he doesn't want to flip down to alter ego if the enemy gets in advance or something like that, right? So I think adding on to Frostbite and Frozen Solid, I think that Not My Responsibility is also a great card. So this is another key card for me. And then the third big key card for Iceman, I think, is going to be Utopia. So Utopia is a basic card, so you can play this card in any aspect. So we are doing the pool aspect, but I think Utopia is going to be one of the best cards for him there. So Utopia is a 2-cost support. If each of your allies has the X-Men trait, increase your ally limit by 1. And as a response, after an X-Men ally enters play, exhaust Utopia to ready an X-Men character. So Iceman is an X-Men in his hero form, so I can get those readies if I play allies and have Utopia ready back up Iceman. So that's another way to get a bunch of readies. And a really cool thing about Iceman is that he has the snow clones here, which are a 2-cost ally. He has 2 copies of them in his deck here. Let's go ahead and put Utopia in our deck. So right here, the snow clones, he has 2 copies of snow clones in his deck. And these are X-Men allies, right? They have the X-Men trait right here. So if you play a snow clone, you can get that ready from Utopia, and it's a very, very cheap ally to get those readies. And I think getting a bunch of readies with Iceman is going to be very strong with him to be able to get those frostbites down by making basic attack activations or basic defense activations. So yeah, I think these are going to be the 3 key cards that I'm really thinking about is Utopia, Stick to Itiveness, and Not My Responsibility. I think that they build a lot on Iceman, right? Utopia and Stick to Itiveness kind of covers his weaknesses, which is going to be needing those readies, right? Because his only ready in his kit is going to be the Crowd Connect Perception here. So after you resolve your freeze ability, exhaust this card, draw 1 card. If that card has the ice trait, you can ready up Iceman. So in my opinion, this is not the most reliable way to ready. So I do want more reliable ways, which is going to be Utopia and Stick to Itiveness. And Not My Responsibility is going to build on Iceman's strengths here, which is threat mitigation. Compound that with Frostbite and Frozen Solid, I think it's going to work really well for him. So now those are the 3 key cards that I want in the deck. I want to figure out with the rest of the deck other cards that can supplement these cards. So the first thing I think is going to be his thwarting, right? Iceman has 1 thwart on his hero side here for his thwarting side, which is not very good. And then his snow clones, let me just pull up his snow clones. His snow clones have no thwart, so they cannot even thwart. You can't even buff their thwarting stat. I mean, they can't have upgrades anyways, but I mean, they cannot thwart at all. And then he can buff his thwarting with the Ice Slide here, giving him +1 thwart, but if he flips down, then he loses that. And I think I want to play him in a way where he's a little bit more versatile, where I'm able to flip down a lot, which is why I have the pool aspect with Not My Responsibility. And Chill Out is a decent thwarting card, right? So you can put a copy of Frostbite to an enemy, but then it's just a 2 cost for 3 thwart removal, which is not the best. So I think the best way for Iceman to be able to thwart is going to be supplementing with allies, and particularly X-Men allies, because we have Utopia right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at, we can't use any aspect anymore because we already chose the pool aspect, so let's only have basic aspect here, and I think that there's enough basic X-Men allies at this point in the game. So we want allies, so I'm going to look up on Marvel CDB, all basic allies, and I want the X-Men trait. X-Men right there. Okay, and let's just search. Okay, so we're going to pull up, okay, so there are a lot of allies here. So we're going to take a look at them and see which ones we want to add to the deck. So I think a big one that I really want to add for sure is going to be Professor X here. Let's just go ahead and put him in. So Professor X has a Confuse, right? Force response after he enters play, choose one. You can confuse a villain, stun a minion, or red an X-Men character. I think that he has so many good effects, right? Because not only does he have the X-Men trait, so he can trigger Utopia, he can confuse a villain, so that's going to build onto that threat mitigation with the Frostbite and Frozen Solid. And then he can also ready up an X-Men character if you want to choose that option instead, which we can use to ready up Iceman. So I think he is definitely going to be one of the best options for us with 3 thwart as well as an ally. So he's a great card. And then I also want to go ahead and put in Honorary X-Men here. So this will give, you can only play this if you have the X-Men trait, which Iceman has in his hero form. and we could attach this to Iceman, so then he'll gain the X-Men trait here, right? Attached character gets +1 hit point and gains the X-Men trait. So now he'll have the X-Men trait even if he flips down to his alter ego, which I think is going to be important to get those readies with Utopia, even in alter ego, because I want to be able to have those readies. And yeah, I think Professor X is going to be good for that, to be able to ready up an X-Men character, even if we have the X-Men trait because of Honor X-Men in our alter ego. Okay. And then next, let's take a look at the other allies here. So let's just go down, straight down here. So Angel, I think is good because he says reduce the cost of playing by 1 if your identity has a mutant or X-Men trait. So he's a 2-cost basic ally, which I think is going to work out really well for us. Let's put Angel in here. I think we definitely want a bunch of 2-cost allies here in addition to the snow clone, so we can get those cheap readies with Utopia, and the ally can also block for us. Beak, I believe, is a new ally that came to the Iceman pack, so he's a really good ally, helps remove threats, so he does everything that we want him to. So let's go ahead and add him to the deck as well. And then we have Colossus. I'm not sure if I want Colossus. He's 4 cost, but you can reduce the cost of playing by 1 if your identity has a mutant or X-Men trait, so he's effectively 3 cost, so it's not bad. I'm going to consider it, but we're not going to put him straight in yet. Forge, I think, is really good as well. He's a 2-cost ally. When he enters play, search your deck and discard power for X-Men or X-Force support. Add to your hand. So we can use Forge here. Forge can help us get Utopia, because Utopia is an X-Men support here. So we're definitely add him in. And then this is Utopia, right? So it has the Utopia has the X-Men trait here, and it is a support card. So Forge can grab the Utopia to your hand. And speaking of Forge, we want more targets that Forge can grab. So let's go ahead and get the X-Jet here, which is another X-Men support card, right? It has an X-Men trait, so Forge can grab it. You can exhaust the X-Jet as a resource generator for a player whose identity has the X-Men trait. So we can't do this in alter ego, but we can do it in alter ego if we have the Honor X-Men, which I think works out well with the X-Jet and Utopia. So I definitely want all these key cards in there. I think Forge is a really strong ally for us. And then Legion, it's a 3-cost ally. I don't want him because when you use the basic power, you can discard top card of your deck, and then depending on what the top card is, we can do a specific thing. Iceman has no way to control that top card of his deck, so I don't think we can get the full value out of Legion. Longshot is just very expensive, being 4 cost. Professor X we already added. Shadowcat, Storm, and Triage are going to be the last 3. Shadowcat, I think she's a new card as well that came in the Iceman pack. So play only if your identity has the X-Men trait. I'm not the biggest fan of that, so we can't play her in alter ego unless we have honorary X-Men in play. 2 thwart, 1 attack. It's pretty good for 3 costs. And then after you play Shadowcat from your hand, choose a side scheme in play. The scheme loses all of its icons at the end of the round. I don't think it's the biggest deal unless it has a crisis icon. So I think I would prefer Colossus over her for now. The thwarting does go nice with Iceman, so we'll kind of see how many odds we have. And Triage I think is really good because he's 2 cost. When enters play, a huge 2 damage X-Men character, so that's another cheap ready with Utopia. So let's go ahead and add Triage in here. Okay, so yeah, I think we got a pretty decent lineup here. And I think I want to also put Colossus in because Colossus comes in with tough. But thing is, with Kitty Pryde, she has 2 thwarts. Let's take a look at our thwarting here. Angel has 1 thwart. Beak has 1 thwart, but he can remove threat. Forge has 1 thwart. Professor X has 3. Snow clones cannot thwart. Triage has 1. You know what? I think we're going to get Shadowcat in here, just because I think that thwarting is going to be a little bit necessary. So let's add the Shadowcat ally. That's not the right card. Yeah, I mean, she came in the Iceman pack anyways. So yeah, I think having that 2 thwart, 3 activations is going to be pretty useful for Iceman. Yeah, okay, so there we have it. I think that's going to be pretty much all the allies that we have in this deck. We're going to have 8 allies, including 2 snow clones, which is a pretty decent amount. And then they're all basic allies because we chose the pool because we want to stick to itness and not my responsibility. So let's take a look at the resources that we're going to put in this deck here. So let me move this up a little bit again. So let's do the basic resources here. Okay, move this back down. Okay, so we definitely want a genius, strength, and energy. These are the basic double resources because Iceman does want those resources to pay for his cards. And then because we have so many basic cards here, not just in the allies, but in the supports here, the extra and the Utopia, then we definitely want 2 copies of Power and All of Us, which came in the Iceman pack anyways, to help us pay for that. One thing that I'm looking for this is not necessarily the support and the upgrades, right? Because when you play a basic support upgrade, they stay on the field forever, but these allies will always come in and out. So since they're always coming in and out, I want those power in all of us for particularly allies and events. We don't have any basic events, but so many allies, I think it's going to work really well with a lot of power in all of us. And we want this amount of allies to help us do thwarting, because if Iceman can't thwart himself or doesn't have his thwart event, the allies can ping off a little bit of threat that we will probably need, because Iceman's basic thwarting is not that high, being only 1. So I think the power in all of us is going to be good. And then for the pool resources here, I'm not exactly sure, because so self-confidence, self-preservation, and self-control. I usually really like these cards. It can double the number of resources this card generates if your identity has sustained less than 5 damage. So it's a double resource if you're 5 hit points away from being full, and a triple resource instead if you sustain no damage. So if you're at full hit points with Iceman, this is a triple resource right here, which is really, really powerful. I think I'm going to hold off on it. I might put it in later, but for now we're not going to add it in unless we have extra deck space. I think for the resources here, it's typically I like to just put the 5 resources here, 2 power in whatever thing is the most allies and events, and then 1 of each of the basic double resources here. So I think we're pretty good right now, but we might add in more depending on what happens. And a big card for Iceman, I think, is going to be actually, let's go ahead and add Avengers Mansion here. So we have 2 power in all of us and the double resource here. Avengers Mansion is a really, really strong basic support card. It is expensive at 4 cost, but being able to draw a card every single turn, I think it's going to always be useful. And we want to, let's add a copy of it to our deck. We want to have a lot of support cards and resource generators out. So we have currently only the extra in Avengers Mansion. We want that because if we don't draw into extra until like the end of our deck, at least the Avengers Mansion can be that for us, because if we get Forge, we want to get Utopia and prioritize that before the X-Jet. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. With that, I want more support so that I can draw into one if I don't draw into other ones. So at least I can prioritize playing something and building out the board a little bit versus just playing each turn without getting any resource generators out. I definitely want to get at least 1 resource generator out every single turn whenever a scenario begins. So I think it's good to have a lot of different supports in there so we can slowly build our board. And I mean, Iceman's good here with the stick to itiveness, Avengers Mansion, Utopia, and Extra. I think there's a lot of strong supports that he can get out. And he also has the Power Belt here, which can generate a wild resource for an ice card. He also has the Crowd Connect Perception, which can help you draw a card after you resolve a freeze. So definitely a lot of good cards here. And then one card that I don't usually put in, I think we will put in for Iceman, is Team Building Exercise. And depending on how this deck goes, I might take this card out. There's a 2-cost support hero action, Exhaust Team Building Exercise, to play a card from him that shares a trait with your hero, reducing its resource cost by 1. So let's go ahead and add a copy. And so Iceman, so I do want to say for Team Building Exercise, this is a hero action only, so you only trade this in hero form. But Iceman has the Ice trait and X-Men trait in his hero form, so that means for almost all of his Ice cards, or almost all of his cards that have the Ice trait, so not the Power Belt and not the Crowd Connect Perception, but everything else has an Ice trait, so you can reduce its cost by 1 with the team building, which is very good. And then all the allies that we have in the deck have the X-Men trait, so if you are in hero form here, which you must be in order to use the team building exercise card anyways, we can play any one of these allies here for 1 reduced cost with team building. So I think it's going to be a very, very strong card, and it's another basic card to add in as a target for the power in all of us, and another great support to get out to start building out our board a little bit more. So okay, so that's kind of what we got so far. We have 33 cards left in the deck, and I want to go to 40 here. So let's see. I think we want to take a look at some pool aspect cards here. Let me move this thing again. So let's see what cards in the pool aspect. Let's see. Okay. So I forgot to mention, actually, one of the biggest reasons that I want to play the pool aspect with Iceman. I talked earlier about aggression and his damage, right? I think that he's lacking in a little bit of damage with his Arctic attacks, as his only like big attack event, right? And it's only 2 for 6, which is not that much damage. So pool is the pool aspect is one of the best ways to add damage with tic-tac-toe right here. So this is one of my favorite pool aspect cards here. So it's a 0-cost upgrade. Hero action, so you only trigger this effect in your hero form. You can spend 1 resource of any type to move a damage from a character to any space above. So you can do that and fill out, if you fill out this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, you have 6 spaces where there's not 3 in a line. Then when you do one more, it'll have 3 in a line, and it's 7 damage here, or 7 damage tokens. You can, whenever there are 3 damage tokens in a line, you can deal all damage on this card to an enemy and discard this card. So it's pretty much a way to get off 7 damage from an upgrade, which is super duper powerful. So if you combine this card, let's go ahead and add to the deck. Combine this card with this Ice Blast here. I mean, the Ice Blast can do potentially, wait, not the Ice Blast, the Arctic Attack, I mean. You can do potentially 6 damage for each one, so it's going to be 12 damage, and then plus 7 damage from the Tic-Tac-Toe. That's going to be 19 damage, and that's enough to burst down most stage 3s, and hopefully you can get another red or have Iceman make a basic attack, or have the allies attack or something like that to do enough damage. So I think that that's going to be a really strong way for Iceman to do what he needs to. So yeah, I think Tic-Tac-Toe is another huge reason why I want to play with the pool aspect, and X-Jet works really well with that, being a resource generator to put any resource on Tic-Tac-Toe, and it can heal up Iceman as well. So I think that's another great pool card with him. I don't want to lean too much into the negative icons with the pool aspect, because I think Iceman already kind of has enough going for him where I don't think he'll need that. I don't think we want any of the pool allies here, because we want Utopia targets, right? So everyone here is going to be X-Men. I do think we actually want to add in Colossus here, because I'm striving a little bit for deck space right now. We only have 34 cards, so let's go ahead and put Colossus. And I think all these other cards I'm going to be adding in. Ooh, that's a hero, not the ally. Is that also the hero? Okay, there's the ally. So we're going to add the ally here. So now I have 9 allies. Yeah, so I think these are kind of going to be the main cards that we want in the deck, and then we're going to put 5 extra cards that we don't necessarily need. And we can kind of decide and just be a little bit more flexible with these cards. Like if I want to put in more damage, another option is get Ragey, right? You can ready up an ally. The ally gets +1 attack until the end of the phase. I think that could be useful. Not necessarily just for damage, but for getting that ready to do more throwing, like with Professor X or with Shadowcat. So get Ragey could be good. Let's go ahead and just put that in, because we have extra deck space anyways. Yeah, but it's not the best card for deck, but still useful. We could add some mulligans in. There's not necessarily any synergy with mulligan, but it's a good way to just get a fresh hand. You know, I think we can add a mulligan. Yeah, let's add at least 1 mulligan, because we have these pool cards that synergize really well with that, right? Stick to itiveness if we spend a physical resource from our hand, or Tic-Tac-Toe if we spend a resource, we can still play a mulligan afterwards. Yeah, I think we definitely want the mulligan for those things. Do we have anything else with the mulligan? Exhaust team. No, team building does not work with mulligan. Yeah, so I think let's just have 1 copy of mulligan in here, which is still going to be useful. And then I don't think we want any of the other events. Okay, let's see. We definitely don't want the allies. We don't need the pool side scheme. The resources, let's go back to that later. I'm not sure if I want to put those in. And then, let's see. I'm not a fan of these other things. Laser swords could be good, but I don't think we want that many bad icons on there. Let's take a look at supports. Yeah, there's only 2 supports here. I don't think we want any of those. So right now we're on the resources here. Let me move this back down. So, I mean, if we have 3 spots left in the deck, we could just put in these triple resource right here. Is that kind of what we want, though? So this is kind of the hard part of the deck. I think that every card that we put in kind of makes the deck a little bit weaker, right? I prefer not to have the mulligan or get Rage in there, because I think these, like the original like 35 or 34 cards that we originally had, are really, really strong. And now we're kind of diluting the deck. So we want to make sure that we're diluting the deck with stuff that is very, very useful for us. A big contender, a big card that I think people might like for Iceman is going to be Death Focus here. So it's max one player, only 1 cost upgrade, which is really cheap. You can exhaust Death Focus to reduce the cost of the next superpower card you play this turn by 1. So Iceman has a lot of superpowers here, right? With the Arctic Attack, Ice Blast, Cryo Connect, Perception, and Ice Slide, right? But his only superpower events are going to be the Arctic Attack and the Ice Blast. So you're not going to get that much value, in my opinion, from the Death Focus until you're ready to gun the villain down. And if we're ready to gun the villain down, hopefully I already have Avengers Mansion and the other resource generators that are already more powerful, that are already set up. So that's why I'm not the biggest fan of Death Focus for Iceman. I think it can be good if you're pushing really high tempo, but this deck isn't that high tempo because we want to be able to flip down to Alter Ego and grab those pool cards with the Iceman's cool off, his Alter Ego response here, right? If we're ready to gun the villain down, we can grab those Arctic attacks. If we need more defense, we can grab like Frozen Saw or something like that with his cool off ability. So I think that I don't want Death Focus for his deck. I'm really thinking about putting these triple resources in there right now. Then we'll have 8 resources, which isn't terrible. It might help a lot with Iceman's resource generation, especially playing the pool aspect. I mean, yeah, I mean, we have Avengers Mansion, Team Building, X-Jet Utopia. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 with a Power Belt 5. And then we have Cryoconnect Perception 6. So we have 6 resource generators. And then we also have Frozen Salt, which is a 3 cost upgrade. Yeah, let's go ahead and just put these 3 pool resources in. So I don't think they necessarily have the best synergy with Iceman, but I feel like that there's not really any other option that's going to power up this deck that's going to not dilute it in the way that we want. So we might as well add some resources that can help us pay for those big supports or upgrades that we want in our deck, or even some allies here like Professor X, right, or Colossus. So yeah, yeah, that just so happened to put us here at 40, and I think that is going to be pretty much it. So yeah, this is going to be, I kind of just built this deck from scratch. I'm not sure how it's going to play. Looking at it and looking at the Iceman hero, I do not personally think this deck can take down like Expert Ronin or Expert Venom Goblin. It might be able to do Expert Venom Goblin if the Advanced Glider does not come out, but because the only attack events in Iceman's kit are the Arctic attack, right? The Ice Blast here is not an attack event, so this cannot get rid of the, or not just attack event, but an attack card, because it doesn't have the attack keyword. So Ice Blast cannot get rid of the Advanced Glider with the hero action, only the Arctic attack can. So I think that Iceman has a pretty terrible time getting rid of that Advanced Glider. I could have added more attack events, but at the same time, I want this deck to be kind of universally good against all scenarios, so I don't want to weaken it by adding attack events that are only for Venom Goblin. So yeah, I don't think this deck can necessarily take down Ronin or Venom Goblin on Expert mode, but I think it should be able to take down like Expert Magneto or Expert Loki. So yeah, this is going to be my first deck that I built from scratch for you guys to just kind of see my deck building process. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully it was useful for you guys. I kind of just rambled on here, so let me know if you guys like this type of video. And I definitely actually want to try out this deck. So I'm probably going to put a poll up in my channel. And yeah, just vote on it or comment down on this video of who you guys want me to face. I'm thinking about having the poll be like Expert Ronin, Expert Venom Goblin, who I'll probably lose, but I'm okay still facing them, or Expert Loki or Expert Magneto. So it'll probably be, I'll probably put the poll for one of these 4 villains here, and then just let me know and vote who you guys want me to face with this deck. And if there's someone else that you really want me to face, put it down in comments below. If it gets like a lot of people saying, I want to face this, I want to see you face this villain with this Iceman deck as well, then I'll probably do that villain. But yeah, that's going to be the 4 that I have in mind, because I really want to, this deck I kind of built in with as much power as I could think of and as much synergy with Iceman. So I want to try him out and really see how strong he is against like the top tier villains, so I can kind of have an opinion on him and like on how strong I think that he is as a hero. I have not played Iceman yet, so this is kind of just winging it here. So yeah, just let me know who you guys want me to face yeah, down in comments, and I'm definitely gonna have the poll in my like community tab. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, and let me know if there's any questions or if this video was helpful at all, or if you have any tips for me about how to make these videos a little bit better. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.